Hi everyone, I'm Natalie and welcome. Now I've had lots of requests from you for my spelt bread recipe, which I've been experimenting with this week. But what I thought I would do today is show you not just the spelt version, but also just the 100% normal wheat version. Now this is just normal strong white bread flour, bog standard bread flour. And you have 3 cups, works out to roughly 400 grams. Every cup is different, so make sure you weigh it. I think that's the best thing to do. It's about 400 grams of normal flour. Then we add yeast. Now this is just normal instant yeast that you get from the shops, fast action yeast, dried. We want only 1/4 teaspoon, okay? 1/4 teaspoon, and that works out to about 1 gram. This is ground sea salt. Now, don't use, if you use those sea salt flakes, like Malden or Himalayan, pink Himalayan, whatever, glamorous salt. This is just bog standard dry sea salt. Please make sure it's really fine because that's going to be the correct measurement. And we want 1 1/4 teaspoons. Last but not least is water. In here, I've got 1 5/8 cup of water. And it doesn't have to be tepid or, room temperature or warm, just normal water. It can be even a little bit cold if you live in a cold country. It's supposed to be cold here at the moment, winter in Queensland, but it's like summer everywhere else, right? Give that a stir. Don't pound it. Don't feel like you need to do anything other than blend it up. And what you're going to get at the end of this is a shaggy looking dough. So I want to show you what this looks like. This is the beginning of the best bread you are ever going to make at home, I promise. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside now because that needs to sit for 18 hours. You can leave it for 12, but really the longer it stays, the better. I've made this recipe and left it for 48 hours and it still tasted incredible. This is the next stage. You've let it sit for 18 hours, doing nothing. You haven't lifted a finger. It's done all the work for you. So now what we do, we grab our spatula and you just want to give it a mix. Don't have to add any extra flour to it. You just want to basically fold the dough over itself a couple of times. So if you see what I'm doing here, I'm kind of scraping and folding it over. You can see how it looks so alive, and look at that. It's beautiful. Now, this is barely kneading. It's just kind of a turning itself over into a ball. You want to kind of shape it into a ball, okay? This is kind of reminding it that you're here. Well, I'm just doing exactly the same thing here now to the spelt mix. It's much wetter. You can really see actually how much more moisture there is. Look, it's sticking to the spatula. It's a wetter dough. And this is mainly white. There's only 1 cup of wholemeal in here. So it's behaving as I would expect it to. I've really noticed that the white spelt just doesn't absorb the water in the same way. And that's okay, because what we're going to find is when we cook it, all that water that's in the dough is going to create all the lift in the oven afterwards. And we're going to get lovely big open bubbles in the finished bread that is very, very delicious and open textured, but still dense. So I'm not worried about the moisture at all. I'm very happy. And that's partly because I've used this recipe many times. I know how it behaves. I'm not stressed out about it. The first time I did it, I thought, it's too wet, but it's fine, trust me. Yay, perfect. And that's all you do. So I'm going to leave that again now for another 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, at which point it will be time to cook it. Can you hear it? I think they're alive. They've been going for about 1.5 hours since we stopped and left them alone. And you can really see how much more activity is going on underneath the surface, which is great. Now, we still want to leave them for another 1/2 hour, but it's really important that we have our oven ready. So, voila, oven is on. Make sure it's as hot as you can get it. At least 230 degrees, that's what, 400 roughly Fahrenheit. Needs to be lovely and hot. And You need to get your pan in there so that by the time the bread's ready to go in, it's going into a really hot pan. This is a crucial part, okay? I'm using just a normal bread loaf tin, but what is really important for this is a lid. Now, I don't have any pans that I can use with lids. If you've got a Pyrex with a lid, or one of those cast iron lovely Le Creuset, or a cast iron sort of casserole with a lid, perfect. What I do is I improvise, and I use baking trays, 2 baking trays that are quite heavy, and I pop this in and then I cover it with a baking tray. The important thing is that it's got a lid, because that forms a little oven inside the oven, okay? And it will all make sense once it goes in. So I'm going to put this in now to get lovely and hot, and I'll see you in half an hour. So finally it's time. You can see it's really dark outside now, but I've not done anything. I've had dinner, I've fed the kids, hang out with my husband for a little while, so it's been really, really super easy way to make bread. So now I'm gonna get my pans out of the oven. So I've got 2 very, very hot pans here, and I'll do them this isn't really necessary. I like to do it because it makes it really super easy to get the bread out once it's done. I just give it a quick light spray with some olive oil. And this is where it gets really freaky, because you think, there's no way this is going to work. You get your bread, look at that, and I'm going to scrape it. Basically, I'm going to scrape it in to my pan. Come on, little one. In you go. Quickly. Can you see what I'm doing? Look how much runnier the Spelt is. I'm going to turn that over there, but it comes out much nicer. Whee! Beautiful. You can really see the differences in the quality of the dough there. Spelt looks like pancake batter almost, but alive, And that's the wheat. Looks more like a traditional bread dough. Let's give it a go. Straight into the oven. Now this is the key. Watch carefully. If you're using a pan that's got a lid, just whack the lid on. I, however, am going to just pop my very heavy baking sheets on top. Close the oven. Done. Hello. Let's take a lid off. Shall we see? Oh, wow. I'll let you have a really super quick peek. How good does that look? Okay. They need a little bit longer, 10 minutes maybe, just to the top really, really, really lovely and crispy and brown. And oh, I can't tell you how good it smells in this kitchen right now. If I hadn't had dinner already, I'd be drooling. Anyway, 10 more minutes, okay? Wow. Have a look at these. Wow. Can you see the crust on this? Isn't that stunning? All the bubbles and the ripples and it's volcanic. It's fantastic crust. The first time I did this, I could not believe it. I had no idea it was possible to make bread like this with no effort, no kneading whatsoever. I've done barely anything. My kids could make this bread. And for Spelt to come out like this, I've tried to make a really good Spelt loaf many, many times. I've done it by hand, I've done it in my bread machine, and you know what? It's usually pretty average, And a lot of really successful Spelt recipes require half wheat, half Spelt. And I didn't want to do that. I really wanted 100% Spelt. And the results that I get with this recipe for Spelt flour have been absolutely astonishing. And every time I make it, I go, how did this happen? So I cannot stress enough, life is too short for bad bread. So I'm gonna have to cut one open for you on camera, which is really bad actually, because you don't cut bread straight out of the oven. But I feel like I need to show you what this looks like on the inside. But let's have a look. Oh, can you hear that? Listen to that crust. Oh, wow. Can you see? Oh my gosh, that smells good. Look at the inside of that bread. Doesn't that look beautiful? the way that the air in that fermentation process that we did at the beginning has created these beautiful, beautiful bubbles and that lovely crusty noise. And that would have improved if I hadn't opened it, to be fair. Can I glue it back together? No! Oh, see, that is such a satisfying sound. And look at that. For spelt bread, look at the inside of that. Beautiful, open but moist texture. No crumbly dryness at all. And that's going to last for a few days in the fridge. You have it for toast, have it with soup, minestrone. That make great bruschetta. Oh, that smells amazing. So that is my completely no knead, no fingers, no nothing bread recipe. Super easy, super fast, and super delicious. I don't know what to say. For the recipe?